This was not a book where you escape into someone else's story. This is a book where you reflect on your own life.
Absolutely.
And that, I liked that because it helped affirm what's happening with my own children in my life, but it also helps affirm my relationships with my parents. It just was a thinking book that way. For me, it made me think about my relationship with my father. And I will probably make more effort to foster that relationship because that would be my one more day. Because I stay more connected with my mother. So there's another thing, the father-daughter, you can take on another.
Right.
know.
Well, yeah, it isn't just about a mother and son. I mean, in the end, it's about a father and a daughter as well, and the relationship that he didn't, you know, he started to have with his own daughter and then got interrupted by his. It's ironic because he repeats almost every mistake his father makes. For a guy who's so clear about, you know, the things that hurt him in his life, he does, in his own way, do the same thing. And that is very human. You know, we talk about all the mistakes that we watched our parents do, and then we become parents, and we often make similar mistakes. And I didn't want this guy, you know, it's interesting when you said, well, I didn't like him a lot, but that's good. You know, if you love the guy all the way through, there's no tension, there's none of that when you're reading it saying, well, why can't you be nicer? You're just reading about storybook figures. But the fact is, you know, like you would think a kid who grows up as a child of divorce would be perfect as a father and would never make the same mistake, and yet he ends up apart from his own wife and estranged from his own daughter. You know, the worst thing that could happen to him, and that's real life. I mean, that's what happens, isn't it?
The worst thing as a father, right, reading this book, is not walking your daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
I mean, that was huge.
That's why he decides to kill himself.
Right.
I mean,
That was the straw that
right?
broke.
I mean, I can't imagine.
Getting a letter in the mail.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I find interesting? Your last book, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, in this book, how you make up that place between life and death. Because, you know, in your private moments, you think of this, and yet none of us know what it's like. So is that just you imagining what it is, or do you have conversations with people who saw the light and came back?
No, I'm not one of those. I don't spend a lot of time reading the Guided by the Light books or things like that. I just think that you know, some people say, "Wow, your books are all about death," and I always say, "Well, not really. They're actually all about life." You know, I use death as like the big mirror or the spotlight to reflect back on life, because I probably learned this from Maury, to be honest. You know, when he said, once you really figure out death, then you can figure out life. Once you really accept that there is an end to all this and that it's going to come and you're not going to live forever and there's not endless sand in your hourglass, then you start constructing your life differently because you really recognize it. Most of us just figure we're going to live forever. I mean, not intellectually we know we're going to die, but emotionally we think, whatever I'm feeling, you know, I feel fine today, so I'll feel fine tomorrow, and I'll feel fine tomorrow, and when I'm 90, I'll feel the same way. And we don't accept the fact that there's a finite end to it. And so we put off all the things that are important, because we'll get to them. Yeah, I'll go visit my mother. As soon as I finish this one project I got at work, I'll do it. You know, or I'll go on that vacation, or I'll have children or whatever, just as soon as I'm done with this work. And then, boom, it's over with. And so I use not so much death as much as what might happen afterwards, be it heaven or the meeting with someone who's already died, as a way of trying to make you realize what you should be doing on a daily basis in life. And not just you, me. You know, I mean, these are sort of stories for myself. I'm as much of a victim of misusing my time as anybody, and working too much and all the rest. So some of these stories are just sort of written to remind me as well. And I think ghosts, heaven, spirits, there's something magical about them, and people are willing to accept stories that involve them as being a little fantastical, and maybe even making some simple lessons acceptable. Whereas if you just tell it really straight, it's like, well, come on, this is a self-help book or something like that. But if you make it kind of magical and bring in characters and things that people think about. You know, I hear people all the time say, you know, oh, if only I could spend some time with my mother, they're gone. And some people do when they claim they do. They say, after such and such died, I had a dream, and I know they were there. I know they were there. I talked to them. I felt them. I smelled them. I know they were there. Whether they did or I wasn't there, I don't know. But I know it's enough that it fascinates people. And I thought it would make for a good book, you know.